Welcome back to another episode of Baseball in the Bible. I am Riker Dotson, here with my father, Ryan Dotson. We're back with a returning guest, Jordan, and we are honored to be here with a Colorado Rockies MLB player, Troy Johnston. He plays first base and outfield.
Well, welcome to the show, Troy.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for doing this out with your family, and we're ruining your family weekend, and we appreciate you for taking the time to do it.
Shout out Haley for letting you stop in the mall and talk to us for a little bit about baseball. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys. You guys sound like you guys have a really good thing going here. And I'm not going to lie, now that my wife actually stepped away, that was one of the hardest flights I've been on because I haven't flown with my daughter in a long time. But my goodness, flying with a 1-year-old might be one of the hardest things I've ever done. But she's fun and she's busy and she's crazy like I am.
Yeah.
When you stepped on the plane with the 1-year-old, did you feel like everybody looked at you like, oh no, this guy's
Well, no, it's funny because I probably had the least amount of kids on the team on the plane. And so I only had one. She was crazy. She watched Bluey the whole time. And so, but she was running around and playing with all the other kids, but it was fun. It's a good time.
So you guys are in LA?
Yeah, we're in LA. We're playing the Angels right now. It's very different, coming from Denver and it's cold and now I get palm trees and I got to adjust to the weather. And, I hate 75 and sunny every day. It's the worst, just tough place to be.
That's a tough life.
But yeah. So I got a question for you guys then real quick.
Okay.
Liger, what position do you play?
So I really play anywhere besides middle infield. Those are my two. I don't play those.
He's primarily catcher, is primarily
Catcher
where he's
is
played.
primarily, yeah. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's actually super interesting because you talk about how you're kind of gearing towards a certain age group, youth baseball. I didn't realize. I'll tell you a story on kind of how it got me to the big leagues. So when I was with the Marlins, and Jordan remembers this, I was an outfielder. Then they said, "Hey, you got a little too fat after COVID. I'm going to need you to go play first base because you can't run anymore." And I said, "Okay, sounds good." And I thought I was going to play, I was going to be the first base outfielder. I was going to do this. They ended up having me just play first base. And then a couple of years down the line, when I was doing okay, they said, "Hey, you're just so positionally limited. We can't bring you up to the big leagues." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I play outfield too." So I play I play 4 or 5 spots if you need me to. And they're like, "No, you're just a first baseman." And it's funny that you say you play all the positions because I had to make a change for myself and say, hey, I'm going to force their hand by, being so desirable, being able to play so many different positions, slot in different spots, hit at different spots in the order, that now you become such a valuable player. And that's so cool that you play all the positions because now you have no idea how valuable you truly are as a baseball player.
It's a great point. I was sitting here trying to think, because I knew you came up playing first. Then I was trying to remember if you played any first in Batavia, but it was always you were in right. You had JD in center, or were you in left?
I think I was in right most of the times, but then we had a random guy in left field every once in a while.
It was a platoon left field. Yeah.
Yeah, platoon. Platoon in short season. I would have never guessed that.
Listen,
that's a wild concept in my mind.
The Marlins do things different. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Even a platoon in AAA.
Yeah.
I could see a platoon in the big leagues, but platoon in AAA, yeesh.
So, well, I know you hate doing it, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, that is no problem. I love introducing myself because I got an interesting path that a lot of people, it's not a straight shot straight up the gullet, but so I am Troy Johnston. I grew up in Puyallup, Washington, which is a suburb of Tacoma, Washington, which is a small town away from Seattle, Washington, if a lot of people don't know where any of those places are. But I grew up, I played 4 years of varsity baseball. I played 3 years of varsity football, and I played 2 years of varsity wrestling in high school.
Shut up.
Yeah, so I wrestled in high school for my dad. My dad was a wrestling coach. He just retired about 3 or 4 years ago. And then one of my favorite things, that a little tidbit about me, was in junior high when I was, oh man, I must have been like 12 to 14-ish. I actually played basketball. I ran track, and I played competitive golf. And I was actually, out of every sport, I went pro in baseball, but I was probably a better golfer than I was a baseball player.
Wow.
And I won a few tournaments back in the day, got some trophies to prove it, but I will never be as good as I was at 12 years old. Never. I was so good. You know, when you're playing from the red tees, it makes golf so much easier.
Oh, yeah.
But after that, I had a couple college offers. Back in the day, you were able to, get offers a little early. I had a couple offers when I was a freshman, freaked me out. I ended up waiting, and I went to a place called Gonzaga. And Gonzaga is in Spokane, Washington. So it's on the east side, close to Coeur d'Alene. From there, I played 3 years. I actually was a platoon guy. I was the pinch hitter platoon guy my freshman year at Gonzaga, which was a Division I in the West Coast Conference. I didn't really play too much at the first half, and then I ended up having a couple of good games in a row at a pinch hit home run, and then I ended up starting and hitting 2 as a DH in college. Because again, I got a little big and I forgot how to run, and so I ended up DHing. Then after that, my sophomore year, I actually only played, I think, 15, 20 games, something like that, and I broke my hamate. So that's a little bone. I have a scar right here, but that's a little bone in your hands that when you wrap your hand around the knob, it'll like press in, dig in until it just snaps. But you really don't need the bone. It's not too interesting. It's just something that hurts and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up actually not playing most of my sophomore year. And it was really cool because it actually gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, baseball is not my whole personality. I'm going to focus on school. I'm going to get a really good degree, and I'm going to play another 2 years in college, and that'll be it. And I'll go into the workforce. I ended up having a really good junior year. Led the country. I was in top 2 in doubles, I think with like 27 or 30 doubles, and you'd have to fact check me, in like 50 games. And from there, I got a lot of attention. Wasn't anywhere near first round, Paul Skeens level attention, but I dropped down to the 17th round, and I just said, hey, I'll take, this amount of money, and I just want to play professional baseball and pay for my school. That was the big thing, is I wanted, because Gonzaga came to me and they said, hey, we want you back. We just don't want to give you a full scholarship. And I said, okay, that's not going to work for me. I only have so much money left over in my 529. Like, I won't be able to afford a school. I'll have to take out loans. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, cool. I'm going to go into the draft, and they're going to pay me to go back to school. So I said, great. I left early my junior year. I ended up meeting Jordan in Batavia, which I have some fond and scary memories about Batavia. But it was my first experience with professional baseball. And I actually ended up going back and finishing up my degree at Gonzaga on time. So in 2020, during COVID, I finished up my degree. Fantastic.
Wow.
And then, so yeah, because I did not want to go back to school. If I had to go back to school now, there was absolutely no way that I'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
And so I finished up my degree, got my business degree, and then I ended up playing 6.5 years in the minor leagues before I finally got my shot in the big leagues last year with Miami. And last year, I ended up debuting with Miami in St. Louis.
All right.
For the Cardinals. I see you guys have the ball right there in the screen.
Yeah, we're
Out
sorry.
in front. And then I ended up getting put on waivers at the end of the year, which is very confusing. There's a lot of different transactions. It's fully a business when you get up to the big leagues. And then I ended up getting picked up by the Colorado Rockies, and here I am.
There you are.
And you're having a great year so far this first.
And I'm having fun. I'm providing for my family, and if I ever need to, I got my degree in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Go. Dude, it's it's awesome being able to follow these guys. You know, I've been out of the game since 2020. Started doing my family thing, but it's fun to watch you guys get your opportunity and just talk a little bit about that. Like we were talking, before you jumped on. What was that call up like? Because you were in Jacksonville. How'd they tell you? Who was there? Um, how'd you find out? Where was Miami? Let's hear
Yeah,
the
you
call
got
up
it. So
story.
here's an interesting tidbit. I'll tell you this right now. So for any of the kids that are listening, the parents that are listening, this is one of my favorite things. I actually had a keynote speech on it at Gonzaga. Uh, I actually almost quit baseball in 2024. I was done. I was absolutely, there's articles about it. You can read about it. But I told my wife, we just found out we were pregnant with our first. And I said, I have no money. Like, we're talking swiping the credit card, closing my eyes, hoping it goes through, one eye open. Like, we're talking that broke. And I said, okay, I have my degree. I have connections. I even took an interview as a medical device sales in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I'm going to set up for when baseball's over with. I ended up going down to the Dominican, which I know is so funny because it's so grimy. It's Batavia baseball.
Yes.
It's grimy, but they paid me well. I had fun. I stayed in a resort, and my wife looked at me and said, hey, give it one more year. Give it one more shot. And so I played out 2025, and I said, okay, if I'm done with baseball, I'm done with baseball. It's, I did my best, and that's okay with me. I gave it my all. I ended up getting a call around the trade deadline on July 28th from the hitting coach, Mike Margema, and he FaceTimed me on an off day. And I looked at my wife, and we got back in at 4 a.m. because we had a night game in Durham, and I drove back to Jacksonville about 6 hours. And so we got a little 4-month-old, my wife, and we said, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to go grocery shopping. We're not going to do anything. It's our off day. We literally sat on the couch. I got a call about 7 o'clock from Marge, and I look at my wife and I go, I think I'm getting called up. And she goes, no, you're not. We've been waiting for this call for 3 years. Like, no, I don't think so. And I said, there's no way that a coach is calling me on an off day at night and I'm not getting called up. And so Marge opens the phone and he goes, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just made a pot of spicy rigatoni and some garlic bread, and we're going to have dinner and hang out. And he goes, oh, okay, nice. And he goes, so how you feeling? And I'm like, that was 3 sentences. And I said, Marge, if this is the call I've been waiting on for 3 years, you need to tell me right now. And he smiles as big as he can. He brings over our manager, David Carpenter, who's unbelievable. And they go, hey, you're going to the big leagues. And I look at my wife, and it gets a little emotional, but she starts crying. I start crying because we know how much hard work it took. We know how long, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the money issues, the things that everything that could have happened that we envisioned happening, it was all just fake. It didn't, there's no emotions that could prepare you for reaching your goal, completing your dream. There's no amount of emotions that I can even put on that, but I'm bawling my eyes out, and they say, hey, you got a flight at 6 a.m. the next day. So, I'm on about 5 hours of sleep, no nap. And I tell my wife, I said, hey, we got our apartment here. Like, you're just going to have to leave everything, and we'll just come back and get it on the off day. And so I call my parents, and the timing of it was actually insane because we actually had a death in the family. My uncle passed away. And so my dad was in Denver, packing some stuff up, doing different things with my mom. And I told them, and they said, wow, you just turned around our whole week, our whole day. We're driving out to St. Louis because, getting a flight at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. and making it for game time just wasn't going to do it. So they actually drove from Denver, flew out my brother, flew out my grandmother. And it was just, what a wonderful day, filled with so much love, so much appreciation for just how long and how gritty it really took because, everybody sees the big leaguers. They see Aaron Judge. They see, Mike Trout. They see all these guys, but nobody sees the behind the scenes. Nobody sees the emotions. Nobody sees the hey, you got knocked down a peg. Hey, you've had a tough month. You've had a tough week. You've had a tough game, and you have to show up every single day and try again, because you never know when the light at the end of the tunnel is actually going to be there, and the light, you're actually going to reach that end of the tunnel.
For sure. Yeah, it's crazy. The stuff that, especially in, I didn't get any higher than short season in my athletic training journey, but the day-to-day, the ins and outs, like you talk about the 6 a.m. flight, like, that was always my job. If you guys got moved up or moved down, I had to get online with a travel agent and find the flight. Nobody talks about like leaving an apartment, sometimes if you're more, if you're not as mobile as you and Haley were at the time, like you're leaving your wife, moving to a completely different city. It's the stuff people don't talk about. And I think that's one of the great things about having you on, is being able to, shed some light on it is a life. Like you're in the trenches. It's not all, when the lights come on, it's cool and it's the dream, but the work put into the dream is, it has to be the hardest sport.
Yes, but that's also the most rewarding, isn't it?
100%.
That time. I know, Riker. You know the feeling when you absolutely square up a baseball, and all the nights of hitting off the tee and getting some extra cage work or do it. That's what makes it worth it. That little tiny bit of success every single night, little victories, little wins. That's what makes it worth it. And it's so funny because, we talk about the struggle, and you talk about how long it took me to get here, and, perseverance, and that's so important. But for a youth athlete, I actually had a manager, a coach, when I was, I must have been 15, 16 years old, something like that. And man, I was having a tough go. I just couldn't figure it mentally. I just wasn't doing well. I was so frustrated. And he pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey, what are you having for dinner tonight?" And I go, "I don't know. I think my dad's making like burgers or something like that." And I go, I don't know, whatever. And I was so upset, so frustrated. He looks at me and he goes, "You're playing a game. No matter how you do, you get to go home. And, at my age, you get to see your family, you get to do all this kind of thing. But for a youth baseball player, you get a good meal. Maybe you get, a Slurpee on the ride home. You get all these kind of things. The struggle's tough, and the struggle's part of it, and struggle's part of the game and what makes it great. But we live such a great life as baseball players. We have the opportunity every day to go up and have success, learn from our failures, fail so fantastically that now we get to go be better. And that, what an opportunity, Riker, you have in front of you to be able to play youth baseball. I wish I could have that opportunity again, because for me, it's a job, as cool as it is, as cool as, all of this is, it's a job. I still wake up. I still have to go put in the hours. I still have to make sure, I'm on time for certain things. But, youth baseball is so much fun, and you get to learn so many life skills from it. It's just, what an awesome part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Let me ask you.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I was going to ask you, because it's youth baseball has changed, even since I was a kid. It is still fun, but it's become more, in some ways, business-like, year-round. And you mentioned that you played all these different sports. Would you recommend because we're struggling with that with Riker, because it's like if you take it's year round. So if you take a little break, you feel like you're behind now. But I do want them to be, I feel like there's benefit. I played all the sports. I feel like there's benefit in doing that. Would you recommend to kids his age to do that? Or, because again, it's tough because you feel like you're going to get, some of these select teams they'll leave you. They're not going to wait on you. They'll get another kid and you're out. So
I 100% with my whole heart would recommend playing every sport you possibly can. Because when I tell you, when I hung up the cleats for football, when I finally had my last wrestling match, I knew I was never able to do it again. You are never, ever, ever able to play those sports, meet those people, because not only do those other sports help you in baseball, so, I'm talking with my hitting coach and he shows me a golf video and he's like, hey, like this is the move we're looking for with your baseball swing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I know that golf swing. I know how my body, how to move that. And you're in the outfield and maybe you're playing defensive back, in football. It's doing the same moves. Oh, you're doing basketball, you're cutting side to side. Maybe that's when you're in a pickle and you got to figure out how to be athletic and the sports are training athleticism.
Right.
I have a firm belief. My dad said this when I was a kid. I didn't quite believe him at times because, you're a kid and you never believe your dad. But
Say that one more time, Troy.
If
Say
you're-
that one more time.
yeah. If you're good, if you can play, teams will find you. It is not, it's about being one of the best teammates. It's about being the most athletic. And I'm not saying the best baseball player. I'm saying the most athletic. So that includes playing other sports. That includes being so well-rounded and being so many different places that you can do. Because if you think about it, you look at a trade turn or slide or a swim move or something like that. That's a very athletic move. You don't learn that just playing baseball all around. Like you learn that by going swimming. You learn that by diving. You learn that by, in soccer, being a goalie, something like that. There's so many different aspects to all these different sports, but baseball players can play all the other sports. It's really hard to play baseball. So if you train the same amount, if you want to be a baseball player, I get baseball is such a cool sport. There's so many opportunities, but there's time to play baseball along other sports, Like you don't have to play at the highest level of all the sports all the time. You can have fun and play your school. Like what I did, I played my school sports and then I would practice baseball on the side. And then when it was baseball season, I'd practice baseball season. And so there's a lot of different parts. And I do understand your frustration with, select sports and youth sports because it's such a business now. And there's so much money being thrown around. There's so many different things. But if you really look at it, how many college scouts or pro scouts are really at a 14U backfield game on a field that doesn't have a fence?
True.
None, but the parents and the coaches don't act that way,
No, they don't.
So, and I understand there's so much pressure on these kids nowadays. And Riker, I hope you don't feel it, but what an opportunity you have just to have fun and just to go out there and be a kid and be yourself, because at some point that opportunity is going to go away. And, whether you're 45 or whether you're 12, the opportunity ends.
Very good.
Sub the lock.
And we have a brief intermission here, folks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, pre-intermission. Sorry. I was coming over. Okay, what do you got?
No.
Well, so, Ryan and Riker, devout Cardinals fans, got me thinking about our year together in 2019, playing for Tom Lawless, the Cardinals legend. Talk about Lawless, talk about some of the other coaches you've had in pro ball and who'd you learn the game from, the most, especially the pro way to do it. 'Cause it is a different beast from Division I baseball. It's, you don't know it if you're not in it. Just, the way you handle yourself, the way you approach the field every day, a day of game, it changes level to level in pro ball, but it also looks nothing like what you did at Gonzaga. Just talk about the guys who influenced you on the way. I know you had Mike Jacobs for a year. I had him. I saw his managerial style and he was completely different from Tom. And who stands out to you? What'd you pick up along the way to where who you're with now in Colorado?
That is such a unique question. I have had so many different coaches, so many different positional coaches, because in the big leagues, in professional baseball, you have positional coaches on top of your managers. It's not just, you got the local dad coaching, and then, maybe somebody that had some college experience that, he's the assistant coach. And, sometimes you got two guys, and I have a positional coach for everything. And so I would say the biggest thing that I learned out of all of them was how to take pressure off of yourself. That's one of the biggest things that, you think you get to this level and you have to be this certain guy, you got to play differently, you got to do all these different things. But honestly, it's trying to take pressure off yourself and have fun again. Because when you realize that it is a job and you think that it's a job, now all of a sudden, it becomes a job, and you start dreading going to the field, or you dread, being in a certain place. But having fun and going out and doing different things, I'm going to say the biggest coach that I'm happy. Hi, Nick. Hey, that's Mickey Moniak, if anybody wanted to say hello. He's a big stud.
How you doing?
But I would say the best coach that I learned from was my, sorry, you got a surprise guest right there. You have to feature him in the thing. It was my mental skills coach. That was the most important coach that I think I've had over a couple of years. And he gave me a thought when because just like humans, we always like to protect ourselves, protect our minds. And we like to say, what if everything goes wrong? What if I don't do something right? What if something happens, and you get all tense. Yeah. And he gave me a quote, and he said, what if everything happens? What if everything happens the way you want it to happen? What if everything, he changed my whole mindset. It didn't become, what if I do this bad thing and, we lose, or, I do this bad thing and I don't have a job anymore and I have to move. It's what if everything goes right? And so I started showing up to the field and I'm like, man, I might get 2 hits today. And all of a sudden I get 3. Or, oh my goodness, I'm a really good, first baseman, or outfielder today. And like, I might make a really good play. And I did. It's kind of that was one of the coolest things of the coaching style. I've had so many different coaches and different managers, but, they've all taught me different things. But I think that was the one that really I took from and actually ran with. Because, I can tell you, I got one coach that put my hand in the right position, or, one coach that actually really taught me how to hit and how to do certain things. But it's a culmination of everything. You don't get to this spot, this level without so many different things. I know you guys have heard this, but, it takes a village.
For sure.
Oh,
It
sure.
takes
Yeah.
It takes a village to get to where you want to go. It's not just one person. It's not two. It's multiple different people, multiple different styles. And that's really, I use that saying all the time. What if everything works out the way you want it to? And that's really how I've been living my career these last 2 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
I got good quotes. I'm a quotes guy.
Yeah, no.
Real quick, I wanted to ask, because we've been going around and highlighting each week on an episode. We've been highlighting different stadiums around the league, and so last week we knew behind the scenes that you were going to join us, so we highlighted Coors Field. So what is it like playing at Coors Field? I know it's different now with the humidor and all that kind of stuff, but do you still feel the difference there when you're hitting there at Coors Field?
Yes, it doesn't suck when you wake up every day and you say, I get to play in a big league game.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's
You, when you start telling yourself that, you're not telling yourself, oh my goodness, I got to go in and I'm facing Max Scherzer, I'm chasing Verlander, I got Glass now tonight. I get to wake up and I get to play in a professional baseball game. That's what an awesome opportunity. And when I step in the box, I'm like, sometimes I just look around and, when there's a good crowd, I was in Dodger Stadium and I was looking around and I'm like, wow. I had a moment too. I'll tell you. I had a moment here. Intermission real quick.
Yep.
Sorry. Need a room key. They only gave us one at the hotel. Do you want a room key or are you just waiting? Okay. Yeah, you're good. So I was sitting in Dodger Stadium. We get bases loaded, no outs. And the man himself, Shohei Ohtani, steps up to the plate. And 50,000 people raise to their feet. No, there's not a single person standing. If you were able to stand there, standing. And they are screaming, Shohei Ohtani, and I'm in left field, almost having to put earplugs in because it's so loud. He ends up grounding out to first and scoring 1 run, but that was one of the coolest atmospheres I've ever been in. And I'm going to give you guys a compliment too, because since you guys are, Cardinal fans, I debuted in St. Louis.
Right.
And when I debuted in St. Louis, they said, hey, now batting number 75, Troy Johnston, making his MLB debut. And they say that. They don't always say that over the announcers, especially with the opposing team. And they said that. And everybody in the stands got up and cheered for me.
That's St. Louis, baby.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
why St. Louis.
That's
That's
They
why
did it
we.
right.
Yeah.
They absolutely. And then, hear me out. I got a hit off Sonny Gray in my first at bat. Got it out of the way. Thank goodness. That would have been tough if I didn't. Got it out of the way. And they cheered for me on first base.
Wow.
I believe
And everybody, when I was going up to deck in the front row, were congratulating me. They were saying, hey, do it again. All these certain things. And I thought, wow, what a fan base. What a place to debut. Like, what an awesome experience. And I thank them and thank those fans, anytime I can.
Okay, so that brings up a question because I've been meaning to bring them. When I was interning with the Rangers in 2010, when we clinched, they authenticate everything. So like I have champagne bottles with the authentication sticker. So did you get your hit authenticated? And who's got the ball? Where's the ball?
So I got a couple different things. So I have my first hit bat. I have my first hit ball.
Okay.
I have my first home run ball. I have my walk-off ball. I have my 2 home run game bat. And I have my helmet. I don't know where I put my helmet. It's a really cool helmet. I don't know where I put it. Somewhere. When you move as much as I do, you lose things.
Oh, I believe it.
But I have all of those authenticated. I want to say right now, I have both the balls.
Okay.
My dad is holding on to the bats for me right now.
Okay.
But I have my debut lineup card that I gifted my family.
That's awesome.
And so that one's really cool because it's got all the signatures on it. It's got all this different kind of stuff. And so that was, I got some good memorabilia about it and different stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Guys, I probably have about 5 to 10 more minutes if you don't mind.
Perfect. 5 minutes. Riker wanted to ask you one question
Yeah,
because
I did.
Go ahead.
So, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. But, basically, when I'm playing, on the field, walk-up songs are very crucial. They get, everybody kind of fired up. And I just was curious, what's your walk-up song? And, why did you choose it?
I actually have a funny story about that one. So,
Okay. Great.
my walk-up song is Mambo number 5.
Wow.
And it's I didn't do anything trendy. There was nothing for it. It was funny because we were driving up to go on a little mom and dad vacation without the kid, and I was like, okay, this is a perfect time. We're in the car. Pick a walk-up song. And she immediately goes. My wife goes, Mambo number 5, and she plays it. And I'm like, this is the worst walk-up song I've ever heard. I hate it. And she goes over and she does this little dance and she's looking at me and she's doing, it brought her so much joy to pick out my walk-up song that I had to keep it. And then I ended up having a couple hits and I was like, well, now I can't get rid of it. It's me. And I didn't realize it because I had no idea about the song until I actually listened to the lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's a Mardi Gras song. And somebody from Louisiana asked me and they were like, oh my God, are you from Louisiana? I'm like, no, from Seattle. And he goes, why do you have a Mardi Gras song?
I had no idea that was a Mardi Gras song. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Well, all right. I've got a picture of our team celebration from when we clinched in Auburn to go to the playoffs. And I was
And Nick Reddy put you in a trash can.
Yes, there was a lot that day that happened. What's your I gotta know what's your favorite Batavia story? Because man, I talked about it last time I came on this podcast. Batavia, the sidewalks roll up at 9:00. There's not a whole heck of a lot to do. I mean, the bus breaking down and having to sleep in the Auburn clubhouse until our new bus got there. And which one sticks out to you?
So I have a couple, of course. This was before like the MLB actually stepped in and started doing hotel,
Yes.
qualities. we were in, oh man, we stayed at a Days Inn, I think in, what was that? Was it the Scrappers? The
Uh,
Youngstown or something like that? And my grandma came and picked me up and she looked at me and she goes, "You're staying here?" And I said, "Yeah, why? Yeah. I mean, it's not very nice, but yeah." And she's like, "I'm actually afraid for your safety." And I go, "Oh, really?"
yeah,
And so,
that was the Indians affiliate in Ohio. I can't remember.
yeah.
That one.
Yes, but it was something like that. And, um, it just, I did those bad hotels. I don't remember. I'm trying to think of like a good family friendly story from Acadia, because there's a lot of unfamily friendly
Sorry,
stories.
that's the key there.
This is for kids. So
I remember. Here's my favorite. I'll keep it PG as much as I can. We had a room 400, which was hilarious because it was a honeymoon suite.
Yes.
And why they had a honeymoon suite at a Quality Inn in Batavia, New York, I have no idea. I have no idea why they have that, but they do. And we would go in there every night after games, and we would play cards, and we would have fun. And we played music, and we talked to each other. And we do all this different kind of stuff. And that was probably the most fun I had. I want to give you like a grimy story, but there's so many grimy stories that it's just going to ruin professional baseball for any kid that wants to go.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, there's a lot of music going on
You're
here.
good.
You're good.
yeah.
Hey, real quick, we'll get you out of here so you can enjoy your family time there. But is there anything? And also, I want to say, I looked at the schedule. You guys play in St. Louis in August, so we may have to try to get up there and catch you. Or the Cardinals are in Colorado in September, so we're gonna
Go to
try to get up there
courts.
and cheer you on. But is there anything that you can say to Riker and all these other kids? I know you've kind of given some advice already, but just guys that are chasing their dream in the baseball world. Any parting advice?
Yep. I have a great one for you guys. Okay, so no matter how well you do, no matter how bad you do, someone is always watching. Whether it's a scout, whether it's a parent, whether it's a teammate, whether it's a little brother, a little sister, whether it's a fan, somebody is always watching you. You have a high ceiling. You have a higher calling. Don't forget that there's always people watching you so you can always be the best person that you possibly can be, no matter if you go 0 for 4 or you go 4 for 4. There's always somebody watching.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great.
Be the best human you possibly can be.
I like that.
Wow.
I like that.
Awesome, Troy. We can't thank you enough. Again, off day with your taking the time with your family there. Really, really appreciate you jumping on. We'll have to.
Of course, anything for you guys. You guys are unbelievable. And if you ever need a repeat guest, I promise I'll be on time and I'll give you a little bit more time for some stories.
We're gonna take you up on that for
Take you
sure.
up on it.
This was unbelievably fun, bud.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you,
no.
Troy. Good luck tonight.
Good
We'll be
luck
watching.
tonight.
Good luck. See ya.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye. All right, that was Troy. And before we, fully send it off, we're gonna wrap it up with a verse of the week. This is Psalms 42:11. Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? Put your hope in God, for I will yet praise Him, my Savior and my God. So that is the verse of the week.
Yeah, before we go, I just again thank Uncle Jordan for being here and for
sure.
setting the connection up with Troy. We know that the audio and the video of this episode might be a little different, a little off.
Weird watch.
But it's all right. It's cool. We appreciate him taking the time to join us there. And so I hope you guys enjoy all of his good content, and we'll have him hopefully back on again. So thank you for being here.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Troy. And, as a family guy, understanding the grind and how unique those family trips are. I want a special shout out to Haley Johnston for stopping down in the mall, giving us Troy for 40 minutes or so there, and hopefully he finds his pants.
He needs this.
He's in a mall. You can buy
He's
some pants.
shopping for some pants. So thank you, Troy. Appreciate you, bud.
All right, Riker. Send us
All right,
out of here.
Let's send it off.
Thank you, guys. Pray for us. Yes.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you just for another successful podcast. Thank you just for the connection with Troy, Lord. I just am very grateful that you have given us the platform that we have to this point, Lord. I just pray that we would just have a good rest of our day. Same for anyone watching this, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys. Just wait till we have
Him.
see who's coming up next.
Yes.
I don't know who it is, but we're building, baby. See y'all next time.
See ya.